What's happening, people? It's me again, Courtney, doing my UFC predictions. This time it's for UFC 111, Pierre versus Hardy, which will take place on Saturday, the 27th of March 2010 at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, in the United States. Obviously, the main fight is the biggest fight, big fight, huge fight for the welterweight championship of the world. It's Pierre versus Dan Hardy. GSP or the Rush or whatever you want to call him, 5'10", 5'11", not sure. He's got 19-2 record. This guy does everything good. Stand up, clinch, ground, does it all well. Very good, in fact. He's the model athlete that everyone should be aspiring to be, to get MMA further into the mainstream and everything else. I can't say anything more about. Everyone knows about GSP. He's the athlete. I have a feeling that future UFC, like the young ones, so I say someone like John Jones could be taken in the same mold as Georges St. Pierre, as the athlete that can do everything if John Jones gets molded right. But yeah, GSP, his last fight was a win against Thiago Alves, which was a decision win. His last 5 fights, they've all been wins. He's had 2 decisions, 2 TKOs and 1 submission. And GSP's not been finished since Matt Serra knocked him out in April of 2007. But he'll be fighting Dan Hardy, who's 6 foot. He's got a 23-6 record. Dan Hardy comes out of the UK, Rough House Gym. He's got great stand-up. He's got great counters as well, as Mike Swick found out. He's got underrated wrestling. If you've seen his video, you need to check that video out on his YouTube page. He's got a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from Eddie Bravo. His last fight was a decision win against Mike Swick. And his last 5 fights, he's had 3 decision wins, 1 KO, 1 TKO. And interestingly enough, Dan Hardy's not been finished since May of 2005. Everyone's going to be saying GSP, that's all I've been hearing on Twitter and everything goes, Dan Hardy has no chance of beating him and blah blah blah. But the same thing happened to Matt Serra struck the wall and knocked him out. Anyway, for this fight, being from the UK and being as I have rolled with Dan Hardy, I'm picking Hardy for the upset, the major upset. Yeah, that's it, end of story. I'm picking Dan Hardy to win the fight. I'll bring the belt home to the UK. Next fight on the card is Frank Mir versus Shane Carwin. Frank Mir is a former UFC heavyweight champion. 6'3", he's got a 13-4 record. Got great submissions and small man jiu-jitsu to go with it. I like Frank Mir. I like what he's done in the last 3 fights. He's bulked up a lot as well. His boxing, his stand-up is improving all the time. And I was surprised, basically. His cardio, questionable. I'm not sure because he hasn't been to the 3rd round in about 3.5 years. So I don't know what improvements he's made in that department. His last fight was against Chet Congo. Beat Chet Congo via submission. Put him to sleep as well. In his last 5 fights, he's had 4 wins, 1 loss. In the 4 wins, he's had 3 submission wins and 1 TKO win. And the loss was against Brock Lesnar. And he's fighting Shane Carwin, who's got a perfect 11-0 record. He's 6'4". This guy's got some big Hulk hands. If you ever seen Dan Henderson in Pride with the Hulk hands on, that's what Shane Carwin's fists are like. Or more like this, actually, sorry. Hand. Shane Carwin's hand. But yeah, he's finished all his fights. Although he seems like he's been around for a long time, he's only had actually 3 fights in the UFC. And he hasn't fought in over a year as well, so ring rust might play a part in it as well. His last fight was a TKO win against Gabriel Gonzaga. Obviously, his last 5 fights have all been wins. He's had 3 KOs, 1 TKO. No, 3 TKOs, 1 KO, and 1 submission win. I'm going to pick, for this fight, I'm going to pick Frank Mir because I think he's going to pull off some sort of submission. He might even go for an ankle again. But I have a feeling Frank Mir will win this. And Mir will take an interim belt. and then possibly fight Brock Lesnar. Next fight on the card is John Fitch versus Thiago Alves. John Fitch is 6 foot. He's got 24-3 record. Fitch is a great wrestler. He's got a good chin as well. If you see the GSP fight, he took some shots. He's a grinder. He wears people down. He's got good cardio because he's always going. Most of his wins will come by decision, so he's always going the distance. And he hasn't been finished since 2007 in a fight. His last fight was a win against Mike Pierce. Although in that fight, Mike Pierce nearly knocked him out at the end of the 3rd round. His last 5 fights, he's had 4 wins, which all come by decision, and 1 loss, which is the GSP. And he's fighting Thiago the Pitbull Alves. Excuse me. Who's 5'9", he's got a 16-6 record. Thiago Alves, great Muay Thai, great KO power. He's got heavy hands, and he's massive for a welterweight. I'm sure he walks around at like 200 pounds. Big guy. He's got purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's a finisher as well. He can finish fights, whereas John Fitch, for me, struggled to finish fights. His last fight was Thiago Alves. His last fight was a loss against GSP by decision. His last 5 fights, he's had 4 wins and 1 loss. Those 4 wins, 3 have come by TKO, 1 by decision. But for this fight, I'm going to pick Thiago Alves. Even though Fitch beat him 4 years ago, I don't see it happening like that. I watched that fight, and I don't see it happening like that again. I think Thiago Alves is going to be pissed, and he's going to try and kill John Fitch. And I think he's going to batter John Fitch, basically. So I'm picking Thiago Alves to win that fight. Next fight on the card is Ben Kilby Saunders versus Jake Ellenberger. Ben Saunders got 8-1-2 record. He's 6'3". He's quite tall for a welterweight. He's a rangy fighter. He's got wicked knees. Check out his last fight against Marcus Davis and against Brandon Wolf as well. He need the hell out of them two. Both of them battle. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, I think. Very aggressive. Because he's got range as well, because he's quite tall. His last fight, obviously I said before, is a KO against Marcus Davis. His last 5 fights, he's had 4 wins and 1 loss. The loss came against Mike Swick, although I want to see a rematch of that now. And he's fighting Jake Ellenberger, who's 6 foot. He's got 22-5 record. Ellenberger he's got very heavy hands, very experienced. He got through the lines, then straight away fought Carlos Condit and nearly beat him as well. Condit was very lucky that night. His last fight was a win against Mike Pyle. It was a TKO win. His last 5 fights, he's had 4 wins and 1 loss. This fight is hard to call, really hard to call. I think Ben Saunders can win this fight. If Ben Saunders catches him in the clinch again, it's all over for Jake Ellenberger. But Ellenberger's got some heavy hands, very heavy hands. But for this fight, I'm going to pick Saunders to win via knee destruction. The next fight on the card is a favourite of mine, Jim Miller versus Mark Bocek. Jim Miller has got a 16-2 record. He's 5'8". This guy is a grinder, will keep going. He's got great cardio, great wrestling. He's got a good submission game as well. Most of his wins will come by submission. His last fight was a win over Ludwig by submission. His last 5 fights, he's had 4 wins and 1 loss. He's fighting Mark Bocek, who is 5'9". He's got 8-2 record. Most of his wins have come via submission. His last fight was a win against somebody, Brahma, something like that. And his last 5 fights, he's had 4 wins and 1 loss. This fight, I'm not picking against Jim Miller. He's a class fighter. I think Jim Miller's going to win this fight via ground and pound or via submission. But anyway, those are my picks, my opinions. Check me out on thepaypalace.com. Check me out on Twitter using the same username, chokewho. And some people say I ride a horse backwards, so here I will. Here's the horse. I'm riding it backwards. Peace.